I never went to church with her. That was her ritual, not mine. Sunday mornings, she'd slip out before sunrise with her small leather-bound Bible and come home smelling like old wood and incense. It used to comfort me, like something stable in her, something sacred. But that Sunday, I woke up before she left. Something made me follow. Not suspicion, not jealousy, something quieter, a chill I couldn't name. The chapel was older than I remembered. Stone walls worn smooth with prayer. A place that breathed in silence and exhaled old sin. I stayed outside at first, watching her disappear through the doors, the hem of her coat trailing behind like a closing curtain. I should have left, but I didn't. I walked in, sat in the back pew, where the light barely reached. The place was nearly empty. A woman whispered rosaries by a candle rack. An old man knelt with his eyes shut, mouthing something too quiet for me to understand. And then I saw her, my wife, stepping through the arch toward the confession box. I didn't mean to listen. I wasn't even sure I could. But the acoustics of that church were strange, warped, designed for reverence, not secrecy. The priest's side was too far from me. But her voice carried. Soft, trembling. I cheated, she said. And he doesn't know. My hands went cold. I don't remember if I blinked. The walls didn't move. The world didn't shift. Only me. She continued. Please, Lord, just make it so he never finds out. I can't bear to lose both of them. That line. That exact line. Like a scalpel to the ribs. I can't lose both of them. I should have stood up. Walked out. Let the holy space stay untouched by what came next. But I didn't. I stayed. I listened. She said nothing else. The priest gave her absolution. His words muffled behind wood and velvet. And she walked out of the booth as if she'd left something heavy behind. She didn't look back. I waited 5 minutes before leaving. My limbs felt hollow. My throat too dry to swallow. Outside, she was already gone. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. The words she whispered in that box didn't feel real yet. They hovered around me like dust in the pews, suspended, slow, refusing to settle. I lay beside her in bed, the same way I had for years, watching her back rise and fall. She slept easily, peacefully. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, she kissed me like always, poured my coffee, asked if I wanted eggs. And I stared at her. Not in anger. Not yet. I was studying her, watching her hands, her smile, the way she leaned against the counter. Her robe was tied loose. There was a small stain on the left sleeve she hadn't noticed. Her hair was still damp, twisted up in that messy knot that somehow always looked practiced. She smiled when she caught me looking. What? She asked, tilting her head just slightly. Nothing, I said. You just look tired. She laughed. Soft. Easy. Well, confession always takes it out of me. Then she turned back to the sink. And I swear to God, I saw her smile to herself. Not relief. Not guilt. Something colder. That was the moment it started. The shift. Not in her, in me. Monday night, she took a call in the hallway instead of the bedroom. Said it was her sister. Except her sister lives in Ohio, and it was past midnight there. Tuesday, she stayed late at work. Said she was helping a new intern in marketing. She doesn't work in marketing. Wednesday, I searched her car. I told myself it wasn't snooping. I just wanted to know. The glove box was clean, but the center console wasn't. A receipt, folded into fourths. 2 entrees. A bottle of wine. The name of the restaurant was printed in gold. I looked it up. Not a chain. Not local. 20 miles out. Romantic. Too romantic for a work dinner. She never mentioned it. That night, I lay in bed beside her again. She curled into me like nothing had shifted. Her hand rested lightly on my chest, the way it always did when she was half asleep. I stared at the ceiling and counted her breaths. She sighed once, then whispered something I couldn't make out. Maybe a dream. Maybe a memory. I didn't ask. And I knew in that moment I wasn't going to ask. Not yet. Because she'd lie. And I wasn't ready to hear her lie again. I needed to see the whole shape of the thing before I named it. Thursday, I left work early. Parked 2 blocks from her office. Waited. She came out alone. Drove 30 minutes across town to a lot behind a row of boutiques. She didn't go inside. Just sat there. 10 minutes passed. Then he arrived. A silver Audi. Clean. Subtle. The man who stepped out was tall, dark hair, dark jacket. Confident in that effortless way people who get away with things usually are. She smiled when she saw him. The kind of smile I hadn't seen in months. He touched her back. Not possessive. Familiar. They walked into a building with no sign on the door. I searched it later. Boutique hotel. Hourly rates available. I didn't follow. I already knew. I drove home. Slowly. As if speed might undo what I saw. She came back 2 hours later. Hair a little off. Lipstick reapplied. Humming softly to herself. I was in the living room, pretending to read. She breezed in, tossed her keys on the counter. "Sorry I'm late," she said. "That intern's a mess." I nodded. "Hope you could help." She smiled. "Trying." I watched her make dinner. She burned the garlic bread. Laughed it off. Poured 2 glasses of wine. I clinked mine against hers. Watched her face in the candlelight. She was beautiful. Still. And I didn't trust a single flicker of her expression. That night, I lay awake again. The clock blinked slow red digits. She murmured something in her sleep. I turned to face the wall. When you first realize someone you love is lying to you, you don't explode. You don't scream. You study. You memorize their moves. Their tells. You let them build the lie brick by brick until you can see the whole architecture of it. Then you start pulling. She was smiling more. Not the real kind. The kind built to distract. The kind she used on neighbors and waiters and people she didn't think would remember her face. She wore it at the breakfast table, while folding laundry, while checking her phone when she thought I wasn't watching. And maybe she thought it was working. Maybe it would have. Once. But I wasn't watching her the way I used to. I was tracking her. Friday morning, I left at 8 a.m. like usual. Briefcase. Coffee thermos. A goodbye kiss on the cheek. She was brushing her hair in the mirror when I closed the door. She didn't even look up. At 8:07, I came back on foot. Parked 2 streets over. Waited. At 8:42, the silver Audi pulled into our driveway. Same one. He didn't stay in the car long. Just enough time to check his phone, fix his collar. Then he walked to the door. Knocked twice. She opened it in her robe. I didn't need to see what happened next. I already knew. I didn't move. I didn't follow. I just waited. Logged the time. Logged the face. Then I walked to the park and sat on a bench for an hour until it felt like the ground stopped moving. When I got home that night, she kissed me like always. Asked about my day. Told me hers was uneventful. She was trying to get back into journaling, she said. Wanted to be more present. I nodded and said that sounded nice. Later that night, I created a new email address. New name. New profile photo, an old picture of me from college, from far enough away that you couldn't quite tell it was me. I used it to make an account on the same booking site she'd used for the hotel. She hadn't logged out properly on her iPad. Her last booking was still sitting there on the screen, time-stamped, tagged with her name. I didn't even have to look for it. I sent a message to him. Just one line. She's married. Did she tell you that? He knows. I didn't expect a reply. But one came 2 hours later. Who is this? I didn't answer. Silence works better than anything, especially when someone thinks they're in control. The next morning, I brought her flowers. Yellow tulips. Her favorite, once. I set them on the counter like a peace offering. She looked surprised, then confused. You didn't have to do this, she said. I know, I told her. I just wanted to remind you I still see you. Her hand hovered over the petals. Something flickered in her eyes. Not joy. Not guilt. Fear. Later, after she went to bed, I picked up her phone from the nightstand. I knew her passcode. She hadn't changed it since we got married. I opened it and checked her messages. There was one from him, saved as R. I didn't know his real name yet. You sure everything's okay? Yeah. Why? Got a weird message. Probably nothing. Forget it. People are crazy. Stay offline for a bit. No panic. No denial. That told me everything. She wasn't scared of being caught. She was scared of losing control. So I took more of it from her. I started moving money. Not all at once. Just small withdrawals. Quiet ones. I opened a private savings account in a new bank, under my name only. I changed the passwords to our joint streaming accounts. Unlinked my name from the utility bills. I made a list of what I'd take with me when it was time. Then I found the second phone. It was buried beneath a velvet tray in her jewelry box, under the birthday card I gave her last year. I didn't touch it at first. Just stared. Let the weight of it settle. When I finally turned it on, the screen lit up like a wound. Locked. But I know how she thinks. Her patterns. Her tells. On the 7th try, I got it. The messages were there. Dozens. Photos. Texts. Voice notes. Him calling her baby. Her saying things like, I wish I'd met you first. And then one that made my stomach twist. He'll never know. He trusts me too much. That was 2 weeks ago. Right before the church. Right before her whispered prayer. I sat on the edge of our bed, holding her second phone in one hand and mine in the other. Then I opened a burner texting site. Anonymous. Untraceable. I sent her a message from a number she didn't know. How can you ask God for forgiveness while you're still lying to him? I sent it at 3 a.m. I wanted it to be the first thing she saw. She read it at 3:12. Didn't respond. But in the morning, she didn't make coffee. She barely looked at me. When I kissed her cheek goodbye, she flinched. That's the thing about liars. They don't unravel in one dramatic moment. They peel slowly. They wear fear like cologne. Thin, but it clings. By the end of the week, I didn't need to follow her anymore. I could see it on her face. She was starting to wonder what I knew. When I'd break. What would happen when I did? But I wasn't breaking. I was watching her do it. She started wearing makeup to bed. Just a little. Just enough to pretend she still looked rested in the morning. Concealer under her eyes. A soft smear of color on her cheeks. It wasn't for me. It was for the mirror. For the version of herself she wanted to see looking back. She jumped when I came into rooms too quietly. She started locking the bathroom door. She double-checked the oven, the lights, the garage. Nothing she said ever changed. But her behavior was different now. The guilt had weight, and she was starting to drag it behind her. The first real crack came on a Monday. She burned the eggs. Not a big thing, not by itself, but she cursed under her breath when they stuck. I'd never heard her curse in the kitchen before. She scraped the pan too hard. Said she was tired. Blamed work. Blamed the weather. Tuesday, she skipped dinner. Said her stomach hurt. Said she'd eat later. But the food sat untouched in the fridge for 2 days. I threw it out without a word. Wednesday, I found her phone face down on the bathroom floor. She didn't hear me come in. She was crouched near the tub, clutching a towel to her chest like a child. When she saw me, she stood too fast, smiled too wide, said the water was too hot. I nodded and said nothing. That night, I listened to her cry in the hallway, quietly, behind the closed door of her office. She never used to go in there unless she was working, but the door stayed shut now, for hours. On Thursday, she returned to the church. I didn't follow her. I didn't need to. I knew what she'd say, but I did go the next day. I walked in and sat down in the same pew. The air felt heavier now, like it had absorbed her voice and kept it. The same priest was there. I watched him pass by without looking at me. I didn't go to confess. I wasn't here for God. I was here for the silence. By Saturday, she was unraveling. I could see it in her hands, in the way she tapped her fingers against the steering wheel at red lights, in the way she sat too still on the couch, barely breathing when I entered the room. I didn't press. I didn't confront. I just kept pulling threads. That night, after she fell asleep, I opened her second phone. I sent another message. Not from her number, from mine. But I pretended it was her. I texted him. I think he knows. We need to stop for a while. No reply. The next morning, she was different. She ate her toast too slowly. She kept glancing at the window like someone might be watching. Her phone stayed face down. She didn't check it once during breakfast. She said she was going for a walk. I nodded, watched her disappear down the sidewalk in that same navy coat she always wore when she wanted to be invisible. That afternoon, she got a call. I watched her decline it. Twice. Later, while she was showering, I checked her second phone again. The last message from him was cold. Let me know when it's safe again. I'm not getting dragged into your mess. She never replied. She deleted the thread that night. But it didn't matter. I already had it saved. By Sunday, she started going to confession more often. Twice a week. Then 3. Always in the early morning. Always before I woke up. Or so she thought. She didn't know I'd already watched her enter the booth. Kneel behind the screen. Fold her hands like she still believed in penance. I didn't follow every time. Just enough to learn her rhythm. Just enough to see the way she walked in like a sinner and came out looking even heavier than when she arrived. She was cracking. She didn't trust her phone. She stopped logging into her email. I caught her wiping her history one night like it would scrub her conscience too. It didn't. At dinner one evening, she dropped her fork. Bent to pick it up. Didn't come back up right away. You okay? I asked. She looked at me from under the table, blinking slowly, her eyes glassy. I'm tired, she said. I know. She stood and walked out of the room. Left her plate full. Left the wine untouched. That night, I sent her a final message. This time, from the same anonymous number as before. God forgives. I don't. She didn't sleep. I know because I didn't either. I lay there beside her, eyes open, feeling the tension pour off her skin like heat. She thinks I'm waiting to explode. But I'm not. I'm waiting for her to confess. Not to God. To me. And when she does, she'll learn that some prayers only echo back silence. It happened on a Tuesday. Not a significant day. Not our anniversary. Not a birthday. Just a Tuesday. She left for work at 7:45 like she always did. Hair curled, jacket zipped, a hint of perfume she only used when she was anxious. She kissed my cheek and said she'd be back early. That was her mistake. She wasn't supposed to come home early. She wasn't supposed to walk in and find me sitting at the dining table with her second phone in my hand. Its screen still unlocked, glowing like a wound. She froze, one foot inside the door, her keys dangling useless in her fingers, her bag slipping from her shoulder but not yet falling. Her face didn't change right away. That came later. First was the stillness. The kind of stillness that only comes when a lie has nowhere left to hide. Her voice broke the silence first. Where did you find that? Under your necklaces. With the love notes. I can explain. Of course you can. She stepped forward, then stopped. Her mouth opened, closed. She was trying to calculate what I knew. How much? How far it had spread. I turned the phone around slowly, showed her the screen. Her last message to him still sat at the top. I think he knows. We need to stop for a while. You sent that, she said. Didn't you? I nodded. Had to start the bleeding somewhere. You manipulated it. I just gave it air. You let it rot. She sat across from me, her hands folded in her lap like a schoolgirl waiting for punishment. You've been playing me. No. I've been watching you play yourself. Tears welled but didn't fall. She blinked them away. She was trying to be strong. But it wasn't strength. It was habit. Her defense had always been silence and half-truths, and now she didn't know how to speak in full sentences. You went to the church, she said. You heard. All of it. She exhaled hard. The kind of breath people hold in graveyards. The kind that doesn't clear the lungs. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. But it did. I didn't want to leave you. I felt like I disappeared in our life. Like I didn't exist. You disappeared the moment you lied. She didn't respond. I went back to that church, I said. More than once. You kept confessing. I kept listening. She covered her mouth with one hand. Not to hide tears. To keep from speaking. As if words might finish what guilt had started. You said you wanted to lose yourself. I didn't know you meant with someone else's hands. She finally looked at me. Not the way she used to. Not with love or nostalgia or grief. With something emptier. A hollow stare. I thought if I could just pray it away, it wouldn't be real. But it was. It still is. I stood up. Not fast. Not angry. Just enough to shift the balance. She stayed seated. What happens now? She asked. You already know. You're leaving. I'm giving you time. To tell the truth. To everyone. Your sister. Your friends. Maybe even his wife. I already did, she whispered. I told them everything. I nodded slowly. Then I'm not leaving. Yet. I'm just not sleeping next to a lie anymore. I walked upstairs. Packed a small bag. Just enough to breathe elsewhere for a few days. She didn't follow. When I came back down, she was still at the table. The phone in front of her. The screen had gone black. She reached for my wrist as I passed. Do you still love me? I think you killed that version of me. She let go. I left. I didn't stay gone forever. Just long enough for the house to forget my weight. Long enough for her to wonder which version of me might come back. The angry one. The cold one. The man she whispered about in the confessional. The one who knew. I returned on a Thursday morning. The house was quiet. Lights off. Air heavy. She was in the kitchen, staring into a mug she hadn't touched. She didn't look surprised when I walked in. I told them, she said. Everyone. I dropped my bag near the stairs. My sister. My coworkers. Even his wife. She didn't cry when she said it. Just looked smaller. She knew already. His wife. Said she'd known for months. I nodded. People always know. They just wait until the knowing hurts more than the not knowing. I told the priest too, she added, almost like an afterthought. The same one. What did he say? That it was good to tell the truth. Even if it's late. I leaned against the counter. Watched the way her hands curled around that mug like they were trying to stay warm. What do you want from me? I asked. I don't know. You want forgiveness. She didn't answer. You wanted to go back. Still nothing. It won't. She closed her eyes. Not to cry. Just to leave the room without walking out of it. I slept in the guest room that night. The bed was smaller. The air thinner. But I slept. 3 days later, she asked again. Do you still love me? I don't know who you are, I said. So I don't know. She nodded like she expected it. I miss you, she said. Even when you're standing right there. I know. I don't expect you to come back. I never really left. I just stopped pretending. She started seeing a therapist. Told me over coffee one morning. Said she wanted to understand why she let it happen. I told her I didn't need the explanation. She said it wasn't for me. That made sense. I stayed for 3 more weeks. Packed slowly. Not just bags. Memories. Realizations. Regrets I hadn't been ready to name yet. She stopped wearing makeup to bed. She started sleeping with the door open again. One morning, I left a note on the kitchen table. Not dramatic. Just final. I don't hate you, Dot. I just can't stay in a house where the air remembers everything we don't say. Then I left. I moved into a small apartment on the east side. Nothing big. 1 bedroom. 1 window that lets in good light in the morning. I kept the yellow tulip she pressed between a book years ago. It sits in a frame on the shelf. Not for love. Just for the reminder. She sent one message after I left. Just a single line. I hope you forget the worst of me. I didn't respond, Dot. Not because I was angry, Dot. Because I didn't need to say anything back. Some endings don't need echoes. Some endings are the echo. Thanks for watching. If this story pulled you in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next confession. Until next time, take care and watch who you trust.